All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 704 once again for episode 252 of the A15 Exchange. And well. All right, it is time to talk about who is going to the finals. All right, who's going to the Stanley Cup finals, who is going to the NBA finals. And then not only do we have that in basketball and hockey, but ladies and gentlemen, it was also the Champions League final. Who won? Was it PSG? Was it Inter? It was certainly a BTA moment. So we gonna get to that. And of course, that's gonna kick us off. We also got Leon Thomas, who has quickly emerged as one of my favorite artists. He dropped a deluxe for MUTT at the perfect time. All right, at the perfect time. So we got to talk about that. K-Trap, Tekka, AJ, PlaqueBoyMax dropping, fiveforever finally in entertainment. And of course, we got some things to talk about in the roundup with the Spanish Grand Prix and some other stuff in the, elsewhere. MLB maybe, you know the drill. But, all right, as always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the content. And as always, all right, everything you're looking for in this life can be found in my description. So timestamps embedded in the video, long form content. I know the drill. Skip to what you came here for, or if you want to watch the full video and listen to my silky tones for 30, 40 minutes, go ahead. All right, go ahead. But otherwise, timestamps are provided in the video and in the description per usual. Social media links there and in the outro. But like I said, ladies and gentlemen, we got some things to talk about. I was going to do, actually, we'll still do Champions League just to get the UCL. It's the final. All right, we'll let it be the headliner for this soccer segment, this football segment. So let's get to it. All right, let's get to it. There wasn't a lot of drama in this one. I'm not going to lie to you. I really thought this was going to be because the last couple of Champions League finals have all been 1-0, 2-0. So I was like, all right, in my head, I was like, I think PSG is going to win. But I think it's going to be 2-0. I feel like one of the fullbacks, probably Hakimi, he'll score early on, and then, maybe later on, either Dembele or Kvara, is going to put the game to bed, and that's going to be it. Donnarumma got his clean sheet, but no, this was an absolute belt to moment. I think this is the first time ever 5-0 in the history of the Champions League final. PSG smoked Inter. DeMarco and that Inter defense had an absolute disaster class on Saturday. An absolute disaster class. It was one of the worst defensive performances I can remember seeing, at least in a minute, in a major final or major, match. It was horrible. And again, credit where credit's due. Luis Enrique has made a statement, and it's a great story with the death of his daughter, and this just kind of coming. That was a beautiful TFO that, the Parisian supporters had for him. But he had a brilliant tactical, his tactics throughout the entire campaign and really throughout his entire run this season with PSG has been really integral. Not just because, and we're going to get to the whole Mbappe situation because everybody's talking about it. I got to talk about it here. But Enrique's tactics have been integral, and they were integral in this game, and why PSG has been just like a machine, man. They have been an absolute machine. They are just... That team it just feels so balanced, so in sync. All of the young talent and just led by it's just pure. And they were led by the young talent here, the French Wonder Boy, which honestly, there's about 30 of them in world football currently, because it's just, I don't know, Paris is the per capita Wonder Boy center of the universe at this point. But yeah, Desiree Doué had an absolute scintillating performance. He had 2 goals, 1 assist in this game. He was amazing. All right, he was amazing. Hakimi set the tone in the 12th minute with that first goal, but Doué really, once he started pouring it on, this game was over. Dead in the water. Kvara also got one of the goals, and then one of the kids got it at the end. So yeah, PSG, man, what a team. What a team. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, the classic, shout out to Draymond Green, the dynasty starts after you. Everybody's applying to Kylian Mbappe. But listen, all right, Mbappe, even though, which of course is the funniest outcome possible, and it was just one of those things where I was like, of course this is going to happen. As soon as he leaves, you lose the best player in the world, and then you win the Champions League. Of course, right? Of course. But I'm still going to say he wasn't the problem. All right, Mbappe was not the problem with this PSG team. The problem was that even during that Big Three era where they had Mbappe, Messi, Neymar, they just did not have the same balance and cohesion across the board. Like they had this insane attack, but they would be lacking through injuries or whatever in the midfield or in the defense, and it wasn't clicking. This team clicked. All right, it's not because Mbappe wasn't there. It's just because of the way that this team has been compromised, the way that this, or should I say, composed, the way this team has been, brought together by Enrique. Right, the young talent, the way they've developed and had to step up with the absence of some of those superstars, right, and how they've had to become stars in their own right. Dembele's Renaissance season. That is the reason why this PSG team has finally gotten over that hump, not because they lost Mbappe and he was the issue and his ego or whatever narratives people want to run around. They won this because PSG was a straight up better team this season. They were a better team, a better composed team, a better, constructed team, and they just flowed. They just flowed. They looked great all season. They looked great throughout the entire Champions League campaign. And they seal it with one of the most dominant, if not arguably the most dominant victory in Champions League final history. Congratulations to PSG. I'm going to be honest, it's the result I wanted to see. But yeah, congrats to PSG. Getting it done. Doué is a problem. Let's keep it going. All right. NHL. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Stanley Cup final, so who's it going to be? All right, who is it going to be? I mean, we all kind of knew how this was going, but you know what? I'm at least happy that we broke the streak. I will just reiterate, I'm so glad we don't have to talk about 17 straight losses in the Eastern Conference Final, even though it still makes us like 1 for 16 in our last 17. But regardless, all right, the Panthers take care of business in Game 5. They win 5-3. Barkov had 2 assists. Sam Bennett and Tkachuk, 1 goal and 1 apple apiece. So yeah, that top line was just flying, and we could do nothing about it. All right, we could do absolutely nothing about it. Aho finally showed up. All right. He answered the call. Rod, like last week we talked about it, called out a little bit of our supposed superstars because they weren't really, showing up to the dance. Aho showed up here, but it just was not enough. Florida was just better. All right. Simply put, the Florida Panthers were better than the Carolina Hurricanes, and you saw it. It was just that case of a lot of what I talked about last week in terms of this series. Panthers are hungry still. Even though they're defending champions, this team wants to win badly, and they will do whatever length they had to go to, regardless of whether you like it, they will go to win. All right, this team wants to win, and that will to win carries very heavily here in the playoffs, and you saw it here in this series. Panthers are headed to the Stanley Cup final. Who would they be playing, ladies and gentlemen? Well, we got a rematch, ladies and gentlemen. We got a rematch. The Oilers take care of the Dallas Stars 6-3. The superstars showed up. Draisaitl had 2 assists. Connor McJesus had a goal and an assist to go with 2 points. J-Rob had 2 goals. All right. Wyatt Johnston had 2 assists. So the Stars showed up in this game, very high scoring. But it was not enough for the Dallas Stars to get over the hump and take out the Edmonton Oilers, as the Oilers are headed back to the Stanley Cup final. And I feel like they're in a lot better spot. Again, this Dallas team, we talked about it before the series started in the preview for it. They were the hottest team, in my opinion, going into this round. They were absolutely flying, all right? Of course, Rantanen on an absolute rampage. But the Oilers figured it out. All right, they figured it out in this series. Were able to kind of quell that down some. And, of course, the superstar showed up. All right, throughout this entire, series, Leon. How many big moments that Connor McDavid had. It felt if they gave him just the smallest opportunity for McDavid to make some magic happen, he made it happen. That's what you want from the best player in the world, right? McDavid in this series was that guy. He showed it. He showed why he is. He's the pallbearer. He's the face of the league, whatever you want to call it. He showed it in this series. He showed it in this game to eliminate the Stars. So, yeah, credit where credit's due. Edmonton back to the dance. He joins a very exclusive club of people trying to make it on their second try, which has gone, typically well for, hockey's past chosen ones. It took a rematch versus the Red Wings for Crosby to win his first Stanley Cup. It took a rematch versus the Islanders for Gretzky to win his first cup. So maybe, just maybe, This is destiny to be fulfilled for McDavid and co. But we will see. Oilers Panthers should be a banger. All right, in a rematch here of the Stanley Cup Finals last year. Then we running it back one more time. Let's talk about entertainment though. All right, ENT. I talked about Leon in the intro. I talked about Leon in the intro. He has quickly become, and I got to give a shout out to the boy. All right, I have to give a shout out to the boy, Kobe, my brother. He put me on. I mean, I was due to listen to Leon a couple months ago, a little before I went to Dreamville. Actually, I was due to listen to him, but I didn't really tap in until a couple months ago. And the whole MUTT album just about went into my playlist, and it was about to exit it, and then he drops the deluxe at the perfect time. All right, which he titled "Heal." Party favorites feat Big Sean and Not Fair were my two favorites, even though all of them hits. All right, even the remix with Chris Breezy for MUTT, and then I think Big Sean was also on the remix for Vibes Don't Lie. I think they both, held their own. Held their own. I don't know if they were as good as the OGs. That CB remix is pretty good though for MUTT. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't know if they're good as the OGs, but still were very, very good. But yeah, I liked a lot of the new stuff that Leon dropped. He is again probably one of my favorite artists now, bro. He makes his music speaks to me. It speaks to me. It speaks to the boy. But yeah, go check out that deluxe. No promo, but still go check out that deluxe. And let your ears just heaven. Heaven. You will be floating. Take Ocho's word for it. You will be floating. Go listen to that and give your ears some good sonics for the summer. All right. K-Trap. We going overseas with it real quick. All right, before we come back for Tekka here in the States and Max, let's talk about overseas. All right, K-Trap, really, yeah, with Hetty, right? Hetty and K-Trap, they dropped that project I think last year. It was one of my favorite projects of last year. He continues to stay hot, all right? He stays hot here. I liked his album earlier. I think earlier in the year, actually. It's crazy that's already June. It's June 1st when I'm recording this. But, yeah, Strategy, good stuff. Classic, You run a UK seat if y'all been watching for a minute, so y'all know what to expect here. It was that. It was very good too. All right. So yeah, shout out to Strategy. Shout out to K-Trap. That gets the cosign here. Third Time Lucky. AJ Tracey also gets the cosign. Of course, he's preparing for his album, which comes out in 2 weeks, I believe. But yeah, Third Time Lucky. A lot more introspective AJ. But he was rapping his ass off in this one. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Tekka. All right. Lil Tekka dropped Oa Oa. I guess that's what we're calling it. And yeah, Tekka can't miss. We've been over this. He can't miss. He has been on like a 3-year heater. Since he kind of like the hype died off of him and he finished up school and became like an adult, like he's just been on a heater. He's just been on an absolute heater. He saved the summer yet again, and I don't think he's done yet. But Oa Oa, still very good. Not as good as the other one he dropped a couple weeks ago, in my opinion, but still very, very good. Max dropped Five Forever on Friday night, Saturday night, on time. And yeah, I didn't know what to expect, I'm not gonna lie. I thought he was gonna lean very heavily onto the kind of, because he's been on this Cardi tip, if you've been watching the streams, he's been on this Cardi tip for a minute. So I was kind of expecting, and it kind of was. It was kind of infused by a lot of the new stuff. But I think Max really held his own on this. He really, really held his own on this. I think this was a very solid debut project for him. So, yeah. I'm going to say Yacht definitely lived up to expectation. I'm going to also say, which one is it? 7. All right, 7 that everybody's been playing. 7 is one of them ones. All right, 7 is one of them ones. Casper the Inning was solid too. But, yeah, that party was interesting if y'all watched the stream. But congrats to Max. All right, it's been a long time coming. Been making waves. We'll see. All right, shout out to all the Phase Boys. That house is absolutely crazy, though. All right, that is an absolutely insane house that they got for the next year at least. Used to be the old OTV house. That crazy house. Even better than the last house, and the last house was crazy. Now it's time for the main event. All right, this is what you came here for, likely. All right, this is what you got your food and drink. You got real comfy, and you were like, yo, let me lock in. So let me lock in real quick. All right, let me lock in for this one. Because it's the NBA. All right, and we're done. All right, we're done with the Eastern Conference Final. They said, Chris, We got you. All right, we got you. All right, so shout out to the team that won that Knicks-Pacers series that we're about to talk about in a couple minutes. But before we get to that, let's start out in the Wicked West. All right, who won the Western Conference? And I think we all knew who was going to win the Western Conference. They've been the best team all year. They were certainly the best team so far here in the playoffs, at least out west. You can, argue depending on how you feel about what happened in the East. But OKC took care of Minnesota in Game 5. 124-94. Light work. All right, light work. SGA with his usual 34, 7, and 8. Just normal stuff. Just normal SGA stuff. Ain't nothing new for Shea. Ain't nothing new. Ain't nothing new for Shea. It's what he do. It's just what SGA does. It's the MVP. Low 30 piece. 7, 8. Pretty efficient as well this time. One that's efficient in game, I think it was 3 that we talked about almost last week. But Game 5, it was the MVP. All right, we got the MVP in this one. J Will, all right, J Dub. Oh yeah, I gotta, because there's two of them. So this is J Dub. All right, J Dub, Jalen Williams, J Dub. All right, the Robin to the Batman of SGA. He had 19, 8, and 5, very solid. But who really stole the show here for me was Chet. This very much so felt like Chet's ascendancy in a way. Not like the complete ascendancy and like just stardom, but like this felt like that moment where it was like, yeah, this is what I envisioned when the Thunder somehow got the heist of the century to be able to pick him. This is what I envisioned like putting him into this team for. Moments like Game 5. When he was going for 22, he had 7 boards in this, but defensively, how he helped them close that game and shut the door on the Wolves and be like, yeah, no, this is done. I mean, 3 blocks, and it felt like more. He had a great performance. As much as SGA was MVP, as much as, J-Dub was J-Dub, Chet was a big reason why they closed this out. The defense he played. I mean, Rudy had like 5 and 6 in this game. It was terrible. But Chet was great. All right, Chet was great. He looked like, who we thought Chet Holmgren was going to be. And yeah, I mean, that's going to be huge, especially with who they're playing next. I think that's going to be absolutely paramount that Chet Holmgren is Chet Holmgren in that series. But yes, the Thunder take care of business. The Timberwolves are off to Cancun. Better luck next year. All right. They've clearly got a good team and is a superstar. He can take you far. He's done it multiple times now, but they're missing an element. I don't think Rudy's the guy. I like some of the pieces on that team. It works, but they're missing that guy for Ant to actually properly play off, in my opinion. They're missing that element. They've got good pieces, but they need to reshuffle the deck a little bit to get over that hump. But I think Ant is the right guy to lead the way and be that kind of torch barrier. We'll see what happens there, but not too bad. NBA Eastern Conference Finals. Who's winning? We said it was going 6 and 7, and it went 6-7. All right, it went 6-7. It went to 6 here, but Indiana does close it out at home, 125-108. Pascal Siakam wins Eastern Conference MVP, which was a little shocking to some people, but honestly not so much to me. He was on an absolute tear in this series. All right, Spicy P was cooking. All right, he was cooking the Knicks. As much as Hali gets the headlines, and it was well-deserved, and we about to talk about the boy, Pascal definitely dominated in this series. He was that X factor. He was the guy for a lot of, even when Hali had that down game, Pascal still relatively showed up even in the losses. So yeah, 31, well-deserved, helped close them out. Halliburton is just so ridiculously clutch. I mean, it felt like in that fourth quarter, and I think he did, he went near perfect. And had double-digit scoring. It was crazy to watch. He was just somehow finding his lane, his hole. He was firing up some type of shot, and it would go in. It was like he had a magnet in the basket. It was insane. So clutch. Especially going against Brunson, who of course is the clutch player of the year. The way, Hali he was what we've been talking about for the entire playoffs. He has been a superstar. He was a superstar to close this game. He's been a superstar in this series. All right. Tyrese Halliburton has certainly, I feel like, put himself, as crazy as to say about an Olympian, right? I feel like Halliburton has put himself on the map, right? I feel like he's really kind of, established himself as, yeah, I'm one of the leaders of the new guard. And I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. I already had 21, 6, and 13 in this game. Obi Toppin was so good. All right. I call it, Spicy P wasn't the X Factor. Spicy P was a star. Obi was the X Factor. All right. How many putback dunks did this man have? Those were daggers. All right, absolute daggers to the heart. He had 18 in this game, but Obi just was killing his whole team, bro. Obi Toppin, big shout out to him. OG had 24, Cat had 22 and 14, and Brunson was out of gas. So the Knicks go home. Though I still thought it was very funny. Knicks fans, I will give you the pity laugh of, the whole Knicks in 8, but it's over. All right, it's over. And I don't know, man. It's similar to the Wolves, but a little bit different. I think Tibbs needs to be able to trust his bench more. He can't run his guys into the ground. Of course, the Knicks, I do think that there's a little bit of a deck reshuffle. I think you still got to keep the core of this team, but there is still elements but maybe again, if he used more of his bench or had more guys that he felt he could trust in those situations, it would give more energy for Brunson to show up and be the, superstar, or for Cat to be able to take over like he did in game 4. It would give that, right? But, he plays these guys, he plays them hard, and he runs them into the ground. And in these long series, that you could see the wear. Where the Pacers, you saw their depth. You saw McConnell, Obi, so on and so forth, going in, Mathurin, coming in and cooking. And that allowed Hali to come in those fourth quarters and take over. It allowed Spicy P to be Spicy P, So I think you really kind of saw the differences in depth in this series, and that's why the Pacers have an advantage. And it's also why I think they're going to be very competitive with the Thunder. I don't think OKC is just going to smoke Indiana. As time has gone on, especially with the way the Pacers have played lately, I really think the Pacers are a legitimate threat to SGA and the Thunder getting that title. I really, really do. I wouldn't even discount the Pacers winning this. I think they have the roster composition to really contend and compete and make this a really entertaining series. Even with, SGA's dominance, how good the Thunder have been, if you want to say they've got the ref ball, whatever it is, I really do think the Pacers have a legitimate threat here, and I think the series is a lot closer than people are kind of assuming. So yeah, should be a lot of fun. It's the finals I kind of ended up predicting as time came on, and it's the finals I wanted to see. To be honest, I'm sorry, Knicks fans, even though it'd been funny to see the Knicks, and see how New York City burnt down and see, Timmy continue his generational run. But I think the Pacers and the Thunder, for a pure basketball perspective, you've got the most ethical of hoops versus the unethical hoops team. I feel like it's a perfect weather for a really good series. Two great young guards looking to establish themselves as one of the best in the world. So, yeah. It's a big moment, all right? It's a big moment, and very excited for this, but we'll see. That was the NBA Conference Finals. Now, with that said, we have reached the Roundup. We've reached the Roundup. So let's talk about the Spanish Grand Prix. Oscar back on top. All right, the O is back on top. Pretty dominant for him. He was nearly tops in all of the free practices. He went out, won quali, and then basically just didn't make a mistake. All right, he just didn't make a mistake in the Spanish Grand Prix, and it was enough. All right, because the chaos was happening behind him, but Oscar did not put a step forward, did exactly what he had to do to win this race, and he did. All right, he did. Lando, same thing. Survived that first corner and then basically got past Max and just did exactly. I guarantee it was an easy 1-2 for McLaren. I'm going to be honest with you. But it was not a boring race in the slightest because of Max Verstappen's crash out. An all-time Mad Max moment. It's been a while since we've had a proper Max Verstappen crashing out on the track. It's been a minute. For those who aren't hip and have been around just for Max's dominance, Max back in the day young Max used to be a menace. And we saw a little bit of that menace return to the track today. All right. It was glorious. Reckless as hell, but it was glorious. And it all started, I think he was frustrated throughout the race, but it really all started when for some reason Red Bull decided to surrender track position instead of just keeping him, I think, would have been in the lead and on soft tires, even though they were a little bit worn and he still may have got passed by the McLarens. but puts himself in a better position to at least get a podium or a win, right? But for some reason, they take him off the softs to the hard tire that not a single racer has wanted to use or team has wanted to use the entire weekend, and especially not on race day. You've got 6 laps to go. As great as Max is, he's not going to be able to get those tires warmed up to make a difference. And on the restart, Charles gets a good jump, but Max nearly puts it into the wall immediately, swerves out the way. Charles makes a move. Max tries to cover, makes contact. Then George comes up and, just complete chaos ensues. Almost drives George off of the racetrack. Then they say give the place back, Red Bull does, just in case. Max is like, no, F that. So when George thinks that Max is about to give it to him, Max goes and makes contact with George. It was just this big catastrophe. A complete crash out. He's cursing, swearing all over the radios, heated. All right, Max just absolutely loses his mind at the end of this race. And in doing so, he goes from 5th to 10th because the kid's a 10-second, which may have been a little lenient, I'm not going to lie. 10-second penalty, so he drops all the way to 10th, which is big because, he's in a race with George over that 3rd spot currently in the World Drivers' Championship. And he's going to need those points as close as it's been this year. So, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I know what Max was thinking, but he's got to keep his composure. He's got to keep his composure. Now, some of this is on Red Bull, because again, that was idiotic to take him off of softs and put him on hards and just kind of screw off the rest of his race. But Max cannot crash out with, thinking that Charles hit him somehow, some way, and then crashing out on George. Like, he just can't do that. That was reckless and dangerous, right? He could have caused a very serious accident. So we'll see if he gets any further punishment. But yeah, Mad Max returns to the Spanish Grand Prix, but Papaya still running. Dodgers cooked the Yankees this week. That's the only thing I want to talk about in the MLB. They own us. Game 3 of the series is tonight, but I don't even want to talk about it. All right, because we probably going to lose. We got hammered yesterday. Ohtani went off the day before, but Judge is hitting 400 almost going into June, which is crazy. All right, which is crazy. He's on like a 16 WAR pace, which is like almost tops all time. Like, we're talking Bonds, Ruth levels. All right, we are seeing all-time great performance from Aaron Judge. However, the Yankees getting destroyed by the Dodgers per usual, unfortunately. I didn't talk about this in the Champions League segment, but Trent Alexander-Arnold officially with Real Madrid made it official this week. So, congrats to Trent. End of an era in Liverpool, and start of a new era. I think he's a really good fit, especially with Xavi's system. And I feel like Real Madrid needed the creativity. I know a lot of people talk about his defense, but I think he'll do just fine, and they needed his creativity and how he can open up with his passing and crossing ability for that dangerous attack. So, I think it's a good move overall, in my opinion, for the great Real Madrid. UFC 316 is next week. All right, Marab versus Sean Part 2. I think Marab is he's a different beast. All right, as much as I love the Sugar Show, I think Marab is just a different beast. I think Marab takes this. And then you got Juliana Pena and Kayla Harrison, which they have been talking crazy about each other. Juliana Pena has been talking crazy, especially. This is for the vacant title, I think at 145. I think it's 145. So, that's going to be interesting. All right, I think Kayla wins that, but we going to see. All right, we going to see, because they have been, like I said, that's been spicy. All right, Marab and Sean have this, respect for each other, and it's been jokes, but, Pena and Kayla, they hate each other. All right, they absolutely hate each other, so, I'm very excited. We'll be locked in for that on Saturday night. So, UFC 316, we'll talk about that, of course, on 253. But, ladies and gentlemen, for episode 252, welcome to June. It's the midway point of the year. That's crazy. So crazy. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Ocho signing off.